Jake Miller was just a normal man looking for peace. After working 10 years as a ship mechanic, he finally saved enough to buy a house. It wasn't anything special, a small old countryside home far from the city. The paint was peeling and the roof needed some fixing, but the price was too good to ignore. It's quiet. I like that, Jake whispered to himself, standing on the porch. The agent who sold him the house was strange, nervous. When Jake asked why it was so cheap, the man only smiled and said, "Some doors are better left closed." Jake thought he meant it as a joke. That first night, everything was still. No traffic, no people. Only the sound of wind through the trees. Jake placed his bags near the fireplace and explored the house. Kitchen, small bedroom, dusty attic, all fine. But then he heard it. Knock. Knock. He paused. The sound came from under the floor. He looked around. "Is there a basement?" Jake pulled out the old paper map of the house from the drawer. He checked. Again, no basement was listed. Still, the knocking continued, soft but clear, like someone was asking to be let out. He grabbed a flashlight and started tapping the wooden floorboards. After a few minutes, he found it, a hidden seam near the hallway. Jake got a small knife and carefully lifted the wooden panel. A cold breeze rushed upward. Beneath the panel was a trap door. Jake hesitated. His heart pounded. This wasn't on the map. He opened it slowly. The air smelled strange, like old metal and flowers. A narrow staircase went down into darkness. The knocking had stopped. With a deep breath, he climbed down. The stairs were made of smooth stone, not wood. As he walked, strange symbols began to glow on the walls. They weren't English, not even close. The air grew warmer, almost alive. At the bottom of the stairs, he found a metal door. It had no handle, just a soft blue light in the center. When Jake touched it, the door slid open by itself, releasing a hiss of steam. Inside the room was a strange machine, something between a pod and a chair, and next to it, a woman. She was not human. Tall, slender, with pale purple skin and long, white hair that floated like it had no gravity. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark. She was sitting calmly, hands resting on her knees as if she had been waiting. Jake stepped back, ready to run, but the woman looked straight at him and smiled. "You returned," she said softly. "Husband." Jake's brain shut down for a moment. "What?" She stood up slowly. Her movement was graceful, almost like dancing. "I was told to wait until you came. The bond is not broken. You are here." Jake stammered. "I think, you have the wrong person. I just bought this house today. I'm not married." She tilted her head. "Do you not remember?" He shook his head quickly. "Lady, I've never seen you before in my life. Also, you're purple." She smiled again. "Your kind would call me alien. But long ago, before your memories were erased, you and I were joined under the twin moons of Kalari." Jake blinked. "K. What? No. This is crazy. I need to call someone." The woman took a step forward. "Your name is Jacob Elias Miller. Born 31st of August, Earth year 2091. Your great-grandfather made the first bond with my people. You carry his mark." She pointed to Jake's right wrist. He looked down. A strange curved symbol, something he always thought was just a birthmark, was glowing faintly. "What the sign has awakened," she whispered. "You are my chosen, my husband by oath. I have waited 300 years for you." Jake took a step back. "Okay. Nope, this is nuts. I'm going back upstairs. I'm locking this door. You can keep your glowing symbols and your space hair." But as he turned, the metal door behind him shut by itself. Trapped. He looked around the glowing chamber. The strange machine hummed to life, and lights on the ceiling blinked in, soft patterns. The woman didn't move. She only said one thing more in a calm and gentle voice. "Now that you are here, the others will come for us." Jake felt cold. "Others?" Jake stood frozen in the glowing chamber beneath his house. The strange alien woman still called him husband, and now she spoke as if others were coming for them. The metal door behind him had sealed shut. He felt like he had walked into someone else's dream or nightmare. He tried to stay calm. "Okay, listen," he said, trying to sound firm. "You need to tell me what's really going on. Who are you, and why do you think I'm your husband?" The woman's glowing eyes softened. She stepped forward slowly, carefully, like someone afraid of scaring a wild animal. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am of the Saravari. We do not forget promises, even after 1,000 years." Jake blinked. 1,000 years? She nodded. "Yes. You don't remember because your ancestors hid the truth. There was a great bond made between your bloodline and mine. I was placed in stasis, told to wait for the signal. Only the one with the mark could open the chamber. That was you." Jake looked again at the mark on his wrist. It still glowed faintly. He had always thought it was just a weird birthmark. Now it felt like it was watching him. "I don't know anything about any bloodline," Jake said. "My grandfather was a farmer. My dad was a truck driver. No space travel, no aliens." Lyra stepped closer. "Your great-grandfather was part of the Interstellar Alliance. Earth was still hidden back then. He came to our world as a diplomat. He saved my people in a war, and to seal peace, he made a life bond between his family and mine." Jake raised an eyebrow. "A life bond?" She smiled gently. "Marriage?" Jake shook his head. "Look, I didn't sign up for this. I just bought this house because it was cheap and quiet. I didn't know I was buying an alien bride in the basement." Lyra laughed softly. It wasn't mocking. It was sad. "The house chose you. It was built by your ancestor to protect me while I slept." Jake stared at her. "So you've just been down here, sleeping for 1,000 years?" "Stasis," she said. "Not truly sleeping. A dreamless waiting. I was only to awaken when you came." He walked over to the strange pod she had stepped out of. It was cold, humming gently. "This is insane." "I know it is hard to believe," she said, "but your presence triggered the awakening protocol. That means the danger is returning." Jake turned to her. "You said others were coming. Who? Why?" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "The ones who destroyed our treaty. The ones who feared peace between humans and Saravari. They wanted the alliance dead, and they failed once. But if they learn I'm awake, they will come again." Jake rubbed his forehead. "So you're saying I'm married to an alien? My house is some kind of secret space bunker, and now bad guys from space want to kill us?" "Yes," she said calmly. "That is correct." Jake sat on the cold floor, overwhelmed. "Unbelievable." Lyra sat beside him. "You do not have to accept the bond. I understand. 1,000 years is long. You are a different man now, but the danger is still real. They will not care about your feelings, only that you unlock the bond." Jake looked at her closely now. She didn't seem like a monster. She seemed tired, lonely. Her skin shimmered like moonlight. Her voice was soft. There was no trick in her eyes, just truth and pain. "Why didn't you just leave?" he asked. She looked down. "I couldn't. The chamber was locked by your blood. Only you could free me." A long silence followed. Then Jake asked, "What happens now?" Lyra raised her hand. A hologram appeared, showing a map of Earth with glowing red dots moving across it. "They're already searching. When they find us, we must be ready." He stared at the dots. "How much time do we have?" "Days, maybe less." Jake stood up. "All right, let's say I believe all this. What do we do next?" Lyra smiled for the first time. Not sadly this time, but full of quiet strength. "You learn who you really are." The ground above them suddenly shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Both of them looked up. "They found us," Lyra whispered. Jake stared at the sealed metal door. "Peace and quiet?" Not anymore. The ground shook again, this time harder. Dust rained from the ceiling of the glowing chamber beneath the house. Jake looked at Lyra wide-eyed. Was that an earthquake? He asked. Lyra's face was serious. No, that was a probe ship. They're scanning for biosigns. They know I'm awake now. Jake felt like the floor under his feet had vanished. A few hours ago, he was just a man with a fixer-upper house. Now he was apparently married to an alien, being hunted by enemies he'd never even heard of. This is insane, he muttered, pacing back and forth. Lyra moved toward the back wall and placed her hand on a strange round stone that glowed under her touch. A soft hum echoed through the room. The wall began to move. No, open, revealing a passage. What's that? Jake asked. She looked at him. Answers. The hallway behind the wall wasn't made of brick or wood. It was alive. The walls pulsed faintly like they were breathing, smooth and warm like skin. Strange lights lit up as they walked. These tunnels were grown, not built, Lyra explained. Your ancestor helped create this place. It's not just a house. It's a vessel of memory. A vessel? They entered a circular room filled with floating crystals. When Lyra stepped in, the crystals lit up and hovered around her. She waved her hand and one hovered toward Jake. It flashed, and suddenly Jake saw something. A vivid, bright image appeared in his mind. He wasn't Jake anymore. He saw through the eyes of a tall man in armor standing on a mountain under two moons. Next to him was a younger version of Lyra, smiling and holding his hand. The man raised a strange ring to the sky. Lyra spoke words, in a language Jake didn't know but somehow understood. With this vow, our worlds become one. The vision vanished. Jake stumbled back. What was that? Your great-grandfather, Lyra said quietly. And me. The moment we made the bond. Jake's voice shook. I felt it. I was him. These crystals store living memory. Only your blood can unlock them. Jake looked around at the walls. So the house has been alive this whole time, watching me. Yes, Lyra said. It was dormant until you came. Now it remembers everything. Jake looked at his hand. That weird birthmark still glowed faintly. Why me? He asked. Why didn't my dad or granddad come down here? Lyra paused. The bloodline was fading, the connection weak. You are the last with a true bond. That's why you saw me. That's why the door opened. Jake took a deep breath. His head felt heavy. But something strange was happening. A feeling inside him, like a missing part of his soul, was waking up. I'm still just a mechanic, he said. I don't know anything about space wars or glowing walls. You don't have to, Lyra said softly, but you must decide who you are now. Suddenly, one of the crystals turned red. Lyra's eyes widened. They're close. Jake looked at it. How close? Lyra closed her eyes. Less than 1 kilometer. They've sent drones. Great, Jake muttered. Anything else I should know? Maybe a hidden cannon in the kitchen? Lyra walked to the center of the room and pressed her palm on the floor. A panel rose, revealing a glowing cube. This is a memory core, she said. It holds the rest of the truth. If you connect with it, you'll know everything. Who you are, why they want me, what your family died to protect. Jake looked at the cube. Will it hurt? No. But once it shows you, you can't go back to your old life. He hesitated. Then slowly, he reached out and touched the core. Instantly, light wrapped around him. He saw more visions. Wars between stars, treaties broken. The Saravari Royal Council declaring that peace with humans must never happen again. He saw his ancestor betrayed and hunted for loving Lyra. And then, he saw her being placed in stasis. With one final whisper, he will come back for you. Jake's eyes snapped open. His chest heaved. I saw it all, he whispered. Lyra nodded. Now you know. The lights dimmed, then a loud thud echoed above. The ceiling shook again. Jake turned to her. They're here. Dust and bits of ceiling rained down. The house groaned like it was alive and in pain. Jake looked up, his heart hammering. "They're breaking in," he said. Lyra stepped beside him, her voice steady. "They found the house's energy pulse. They know I've awakened. And now, they will come for the marked one." Jake stared at her. "You mean me?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. You carry the mark. You're the last blood of the human who made peace with my people. They see you as a threat." Jake backed away, gripping the nearest wall. "I'm not a warrior. I fix engines. I build hoverbikes. I don't know how to fight aliens." "You won't fight alone," Lyra said. "The house remembers. It will protect you." Another explosion shook the ground. Jake heard boots above them now, metallic, sharp, fast. Whoever, or whatever, was up there wasn't human. Lyra moved to the wall again and pressed her palm against a crystal panel. Lights flared. The tunnels behind them shifted like liquid stone, reshaping themselves. "This way," she said. "We need to reach the heart room. That's where the oldest memory lives." Jake followed her, running through glowing corridors that twisted and turned behind them. Every time they passed, the walls sealed shut. Jake turned to look back once, and saw a long metal spike stab through the wall behind them. "Yeah, they're definitely not friendly," he muttered. Lyra didn't stop. "They're hunters. Not alive. Not truly. Machines built to erase bloodlines. Their purpose is to destroy everything connected to the treaty." "Why?" Jake asked breathlessly. "Because peace was dangerous," she said. "Peace meant power, could shift. So they chose war instead. And they fear what we represent." As they reached a large round chamber, the lights dimmed, and a deep hum surrounded them. In the center stood a pedestal, and on it, a glowing orb. It pulsed like a heart. Jake stared. "That's it?" "Yes," Lyra said. "The last truth." She stepped forward and placed both hands on the orb. It responded with a beam of golden light that scanned Jake's body from head to toe. Then the room lit up with holograms, battles, memories, faces of old aliens and humans side by side smiling. And then, a scene showed Lyra, standing before a council, her voice breaking. "I will be sealed beneath Earth's soil," she said in the vision. "I will wait until the human with the mark comes, even if it takes 1,000 years." Jake watched silently. His chest tightened. She had waited, alone, in darkness, because of a promise she refused to break. The vision ended. Jake looked at her. "Why me, Lyra? I don't understand. You could have left, fled, but you stayed, for someone you never met." She looked into his eyes. "Because you're not just a name. You carry his soul. You carry his strength. You're more than you think." Jake opened his mouth to respond. Boom! The chamber door burst open. A figure stepped through, tall in black armor with glowing red eyes. Its voice was cold metal. "Target found. Eliminate the bond." Jake felt something rise inside him. Fear, but also anger. He grabbed a strange metal rod from the pedestal. It felt warm in his hand, and then suddenly it changed shape. It became a long staff, shining with blue energy. Lyra's eyes widened. "That's the staff of memory. It chose you." Jake turned to face the hunter. "I'm not running anymore," he said. "You want her? You'll have to go through me." The hunter lunged forward. Jake swung the staff. Light exploded in every direction. The impact sent the metal creature crashing against the wall. Sparks flew. Jake gasped. I did that?" Lyra smiled proudly. "Yes. And now you understand why they're afraid." The creature growled, crawling up again, its arm now sparking and broken. Jake held the staff tighter. "Let's finish this." The hunter rose from the rubble. Sparks jumped from its broken arm, but its glowing red eyes locked on Jake. The creature spoke in a voice that felt like knives scraping metal. "Human bloodline confirmed. Target must be erased." Jake tightened, his grip on the glowing staff. His palms were sweaty, heart racing. He didn't feel brave, but something deep inside was awake now. Ancient, fierce. "Stay behind me," he whispered to Lyra. But she stepped forward instead. "No," she said, softly. "You saw what I once was. It's time you see who I still am." Lyra raised her hands to her sides. The air around her shimmered. Her body glowed with energy, white light tracing glowing lines across her skin. Then it happened. Wings, long, transparent, and glowing with a soft golden light. Wings unfolded from her back, wide and majestic. Each beat of them stirred the dust, sending waves of power through the room. Jake stumbled back, stunned. You have wings?" Lyra's eyes glowed. "I am Saravari royal blood. I am not just a wife. I am a guardian." The hunter fired, a bolt of red plasma at them. But in a flash, Lyra was gone. Her wings moved like lightning. She reappeared midair, caught the energy blast in her hand, and crushed it. Jake watched, mouth open. The hunter charged again, but this time Lyra met it midair. She spun with grace, her wings slicing the air, her hands glowing with alien power. Every move was fluid and fast, like a dance mixed with destruction. She slammed the hunter into the ground. Jake raised his staff and joined the fight, swinging at another drone that flew in through the cracked ceiling. The staff responded to his thoughts, growing, shrinking, glowing with energy when he felt danger. The drone fired. Jake ducked, rolled, and struck its core. Boom. Gone. Lyra landed beside him. "I was trying to protect you," Jake said, panting, "but I think you're the one protecting me." Lyra laughed, her wings folding gently behind her. "We protect each other now. That is the bond." He looked at her with new eyes, not just as some strange alien woman, but as someone powerful, loyal and brave. Someone who had waited for him and was ready to die for him. But there was no time for feelings. The wall behind them burst open. 3 more hunters entered, larger, faster, fully armed. Jake turned pale. "Okay, that might be too many," Lyra whispered. "Then we stop running." She touched the ground and a wave of energy pulsed through the chamber. The walls shifted again, revealing ancient weapons, armor, and a shimmering gate made of alien crystal. Jake stared. "What's that?" "Our way out," Lyra said. "But once we step through, there's no turning back." The hunters charged. Jake looked at her. "I didn't ask for this," he said, "but now I know the truth. And I'm not letting you face it alone." Lyra smiled. "Then let's go together." She grabbed his hand. They ran toward the gate. Blasts flew past their heads. The hunters were fast, but not fast enough. Lyra threw out her wings. A shield of light surrounded them, deflecting the energy. Jake leapt into the portal with her. Everything went white. He opened his eyes. The air smelled different. Fresh. Cold. Alien. They were standing on a tall cliff under 2 massive moons, overlooking a valley glowing with blue trees and floating stones. Jake's jaw dropped. "Where are we?" Lyra stepped forward, her wings catching the moonlight. "We're home." Jake blinked hard. He wasn't in his dusty old basement anymore. Now he stood on a glowing cliff under 2 silver moons, wind rushing past his face. The sky was violet, dotted with stars too bright to be Earth's. The land below was alive. Floating stones drifted through the air, trees glowed blue, and rivers shimmered like liquid glass. It was like walking into a dream. "Where are we?" he whispered. Lyra stood beside him, her wings folded behind her, hair floating slightly in the light gravity. "This is Kalari," she said, "my home world, and now yours too." Jake turned slowly, trying to take it all in. "I stepped through a wall in my basement and came to a different planet?" Lyra smiled. "The bond gate is ancient, hidden on Earth for centuries. Only someone with the mark could use it." Jake touched his glowing wrist again. The strange symbol still pulsed faintly. Suddenly, a low humming filled the air. Lyra's face turned grim. "They followed?" Jake looked up. Black shapes cut across the moonlight. 3 hunter ships descending fast, engines glowing red. How? He asked. I thought the portal was one way. They didn't need the gate. They locked onto our energy trail. They're relentless. Jake looked at the peaceful alien valley below. We can't lead them here. Your people, they're gone. She interrupted quietly. My people scattered after the war. This is sacred ground. But we are alone. A pause. Jake clenched his fists. Then we don't run, we make a stand. Lyra studied him with new eyes. You've changed. No, Jake said. I've remembered. He looked at the valley again. There has to be something here, a weapon, a ship, anything. She nodded slowly. There is one, but it's dangerous. Jake raised an eyebrow. We're way past safe. Lyra led him down stone steps carved into the cliff. They entered. A glowing cave covered in crystal vines. At the center stood a massive silver pod, buried in the stone like an egg. This is a soul ship, she said. It connects to one pilot, one heart. It was made for the bond of Saravari and human. Jake stepped closer. The pod lit up. A voice spoke in both their minds. Bond pair recognized. Activating core. The pod opened with a hiss. Jake took a breath. We're really doing this? Lyra placed her hand over his. We do this together. As one. They stepped inside. Seconds later, the ship rose from the cave, cloaked in crystal armor. Wings of energy spread from its sides. It looked alive. Half machine, half spirit. Jake sat in the pilot seat. It wrapped around him like it knew his body already. This thing flies? He asked. It responds to will, Lyra said beside him. Think it and it moves. Jake grinned. That's more my style. The sky above darkened as the hunter ships approached. They fired without warning. Streams of red plasma rained down. Jake raised his hand. A shield of energy formed in front of them. Whoa, you're stronger than I thought, Lyra said with pride. Jake gave a nervous smile. I'm learning fast. He thought up, and the soul ship soared, leaving a trail of blue light behind. They twisted through the clouds, dodging blasts, speeding toward the attackers. Let's see how they like a mechanic's touch, Jake muttered. He focused, and the ship responded. Twin beams of light shot out, cutting through one hunter ship's engines. It spun out and crashed into the forest below in a blaze of sparks. The other two split, circling around. Lyra closed her eyes. Let me guide the heart. You aim. Jake nodded. Deal. They moved together like dancers. Lyra controlled the flow of energy while Jake focused on battle. The ship pulsed with their rhythm, flying smoother than anything Jake had ever touched. He took out the second ship with a wide arc blast. Only one remained. Suddenly, the last hunter ship charged, locking onto them with a suicide dive. Jake panicked. I can't dodge that, Lyra shouted. Trust me. She grabbed his hand. For a second, everything stopped. Time, sound, even gravity. Then, the soul ship blinked out of space, reappearing behind the hunter ship. Jake didn't even speak. He fired. Boom. Silence. The skies cleared. Jake collapsed back, in his seat. Is it over? For now, Lyra said, placing her hand gently on his chest. But they will come again. He looked at her. Then let them. I'm not leaving your side. Her wings shimmered softly. You're not just my husband by oath anymore, she whispered. You're my partner by choice. The stars above Kalari shimmered with quiet peace. Jake sat on the edge of the soul ship's wing, legs hanging over the side, looking out at the twin moons rising over the glowing valley. The battle was over for now. The sky was clear. But inside his chest, his heart still beat with energy, wonder, and something new. Belonging. Lyra stood beside him, her wings folded neatly, her silver hair glowing in the moonlight. You've been quiet, she said softly. Jake nodded. Just thinking. About Earth? He smiled slightly. About you. Lyra blinked, unsure. Jake turned to her. When I first found you in that basement, I thought you were insane. Some trapped alien with a wild story about fate and husbands. She looked down, a little embarrassed. I know how it sounded. But now, he said, standing up, I know the truth. You weren't crazy. You were waiting. You believed in something bigger than time. Lyra looked at him. I believed in you. Jake stepped closer. You were my destiny, Lyra, even before I knew your name. She smiled, but there was pain in her eyes. The hunters will return, Jake. Maybe not today, but one day. Our bond makes you a target. Jake reached out, gently taking her hand. Then we build something stronger than fear. Together. She looked into his eyes. You're sure? This world is not Earth. There are no cities here. No phones, no roads. Jake laughed. No bills either. She tilted her head, amused. He grew serious. I've spent most of my life fixing machines for other people, always alone. But with you, I feel like I matter. Like I was born for something more than just surviving, Lyra whispered. You were born to lead. Jake blinked. Lead? She guided him back inside the soul ship. At the heart of the ship, a new panel had opened. A throne-like chair carved from crystal and stardust. This ship, Lyra explained, is not just for war. It was built to awaken the old Saravari bonds, unions between leaders and protectors. A new future. The bond between human and Saravari was meant to guide both worlds into peace. Jake stared at the chair. You mean, I'm supposed to lead people? You already are, she said. You stood for me when no one else would. That's what a true king does. Jake gave her a sideways look. So I'm what now? Some kind of space husband warrior king? She smiled. If the crown fits. He walked to the chair. As soon as he touched it, the ship responded, glowing brighter, humming louder. In the sky above, a massive symbol appeared. 2 rings joined. By light, the ancient mark of the bond. Across the galaxy, hidden satellites and silent watchers stirred. Something long thought lost had returned. Lyra stood beside him, her voice strong now. The stars remember us. The bond is alive again. The warlords, the collectors, the councils. They'll all come to see what rises from the dust. Jake looked at her. Let them come. This time we're not hiding. She placed her hand over his. Together they sat in the twin thrones of the soul ship, and as the moons rose, so did a legend of the human who found an alien in his basement and became the light that broke 1,000 years of silence, not just her husband, her destiny, their story that was only beginning.